The night was cold and silent. Only the crackle of the campfire broke the stillness. The human soldier, David, sat with his back against a rock, trying to keep his eyes open. His squad had returned from a long patrol. Everyone was tired, some already asleep. He told himself he would only rest for a moment. But the silence of the alien forest wrapped around him, and soon his eyes began to close. Then he heard it, a faint sound like breathing, too close to his ear. His eyes opened, his hand reaching for his weapon. But before he could move, something sharp pressed into his arm. Teeth. He gasped in shock, as pain cut through his skin. A figure crouched over him in the dark. He struggled, but she was faster. Pale skin that shimmered in the moonlight. Long dark hair that fell across her face. Her lips were pressed to his arm, her fangs sinking deep. He tried to push her away, but then he froze. She whispered a single word, her voice low, almost like a growl. "Mine." The sound made his blood run cold. He pulled back with all his strength, throwing her off. The firelight showed her clearly now. An alien girl. Young, but her eyes glowed with a wild light, as if she had claimed something she would never give back. David clutched his arm. The bite marks were glowing faint blue, like fire beneath his skin. His squad rushed over, weapons raised. What happened? One asked, staring at the wound. "She bit me," David said, his voice hard, but inside he felt fear rising. The girl crouched near the fire, not afraid of the soldiers. She hissed when they stepped closer, her eyes fixed only on him. Her lips curled into something between a smile and a threat. "Mine," she said again, louder this time. The others looked at each other, unsure what to do. No alien had ever done this before. They attacked, they screamed, they killed. But this one? She bit, and then she claimed. The captain frowned. "Get her away from him." Two soldiers stepped forward, but the girl moved with unnatural speed. She put herself between them and David, her stance low, ready to strike. The firelight danced on her sharp teeth. David stood slowly, his arm burning with heat. The glow was spreading, veins of blue crawling up to his shoulder. He wanted to believe it was just poison, some strange alien venom. But deep inside, he felt something else, like a chain wrapping around his chest, binding him to her. No one dared move closer. The girl tilted her head, watching him. Her breathing was heavy, like a predator guarding her prey. But when he looked into her eyes, he felt something even more dangerous. Not hunger. Not rage, possession. The squad began to whisper. She marked him. He belongs to her now. What does that mean? David shook his head. "No, I don't belong to anyone." But the girl only smiled, as if she had heard his thoughts. She stepped closer, her hand reaching toward his bitten arm. He flinched back. The campfire shadows grew longer as the night deepened. The soldiers pulled away from David. None of them wanted to be near him now. The girl had bitten him, claimed him, and in their eyes, he was no longer one of them. He tried to sleep later, but every time he closed his eyes, he felt her there, watching, breathing, whispering that same word again and again. "Mine." The wound throbbed through the night. At times it felt like fire. At times it felt like ice. And deep down, a question began to grow inside him. What had she done to him? The next morning, the camp was different. David could feel it in the air before he even opened his eyes. When he sat up, he noticed something strange. His squad men he had fought beside for years were sitting far away from him. The fire pit, usually crowded, now had a wide empty circle around him that no one wanted to sit near him. He looked down at his arm. The bite mark still glowed faint blue. The skin around it was red and raw, but there was no blood anymore. It looked like the wound had sealed itself, as if it wasn't human at all. The alien girl sat close, only a few steps away, her knees drawn to her chest. She stared at him without blinking. When another soldier came near to hand out rations, she bared her teeth. The soldier cursed and threw the food toward David instead of handing it to him. "She's still here," one man muttered. "Why isn't she tied up?" Another whispered, but no one dared touch her. The memory of her speed and the glow on David's arm had made them careful. It was easier to keep distance than to risk being bitten too. David picked up the food, but had no appetite. He could feel her gaze burning into his side. It was not the stare of a prisoner. It was something else. Something heavier. Later that day, while the squad prepared to move camp, the captain pulled David aside. His eyes narrowed at the mark. "You need to keep her away from the unit," the captain said. "The men are afraid. They think she cursed you." David wanted to argue, but deep down he understood. He felt it too. His body was not the same since the bite. His arm was hot, his heartbeat strange. And when she was near, the burning grew stronger, almost unbearable. When he returned to the group, he found her waiting. She rose to her feet, silent but fierce, and walked beside him as the squad marched forward. Not behind. Not at a distance. Always beside. The whispers grew louder. "She follows him like a shadow. He belongs to her now." David clenched his fists. He didn't belong to anyone. But every time he tried to move away, she moved with him. Every time another soldier stepped close, her lips curled into that same warning snarl. As the day dragged on, David began to notice something else. The aliens they passed in the ruined villages, the scavengers hiding in the shadows, they didn't attack. They watched. Their glowing eyes followed him and then turned away. They didn't dare come near. It wasn't him they feared. It was the mark. By evening, when they stopped to rest, one of the older soldiers muttered, "She's claimed him. He's marked. We shouldn't even share food with him anymore." The words cut deeper than the bite itself. David had fought beside them, bled beside them. Now they acted as if he was infected. As if he was already lost. That night, he sat alone at the edge of camp. The girl crept closer, her movements soft, like she had done this all her life. She sat next to him, almost touching, and tilted her head. Her hand lifted, hovering near his arm. He wanted to pull away, but his body froze. Her fingers traced the glowing mark gently, and the fire inside him flared. "Mine," she whispered again. The sound wasn't angry this time. It was soft, almost like a promise. David shivered. Around them, the rest of the squad avoided looking in their direction. No one wanted to interfere. He turned to face her, his voice low. "Why me? Why did you bite me?" She only smiled, sharp teeth glinting in the firelight. Then she leaned close, so close that her breath warmed his ear. "You will see," she whispered. David's heart pounded. He didn't know if it was fear, anger, or something else. But one thing was clear. The more she stayed near, the more he felt the world around him pushing him away. And yet, the more he pushed her away, the closer she came. By the third day, David felt the weight of silence more than the weight of his armor. No one spoke to him unless it was in order. No one shared a laugh. No one sat beside him. At mealtime, his plate was always set apart, like he carried a sickness no cure could touch. He tried to tell himself it didn't matter. He was a soldier. He could endure loneliness. But every time he looked up, he saw her. The alien girl. Always there. Always watching. She did not leave his side, not for food, not for rest, not for sleep. When he walked, she walked. When he stopped, she stopped. She never blinked, never looked at anyone else. Only at him. The glow on his arm had spread faintly up to his shoulder now. The others noticed. They whispered behind his back. "It's moving. It's taking him. He's not one of us anymore." At night, the whispers grew into fear. Some men demanded the captain throw her out. Others said David should be left behind with her. The captain said nothing, but his eyes were cold every time they landed on David. That night, David lay awake while the camp slept. The fire was low, and the forest around them was alive with strange sounds. He turned his head, and there she was again, sitting right beside him. Her hair covered half her face, her glowing eyes peeking through the strands. He tried to speak softly. "Why do you stay so close?" She tilted her head, like she was confused by the question. Then, with slow movements, she lowered herself until she lay beside him. The heat from her body was strange, warmer than fire, but not human warmth. He wanted to move away. But his body didn't. His arm burned where she had bitten him. And when she pressed her head against his shoulder, the fire turned almost pleasant. Almost safe. But sleep did not bring peace. In the dark, he heard her whisper. Not just once. Not just mine, but a string of words in her alien tongue, soft and broken, repeated like a prayer. He could not understand them, but the way she said them chilled him to the bone. Only one word stood out, the only word he understood. Mine. David woke in sweat, his heart racing. The girl still lay beside him, her hand resting gently on his marked arm. She was asleep, but her grip on him was tight, like chains around his body. The next morning, he tried to pull away from her, to walk ahead of the squad, but she followed. When another soldier accidentally brushed too close, she bared her teeth with a hiss so sharp, the man almost stumbled back in fear. "Keep her away." The man shouted. "She's not leaving him," another answered. "Don't you see? She's tied to him now." The words spread fast. David felt the gap around him grow wider. No one dared speak to him anymore. He was not just alone, he was untouchable. But what frightened him most was not their fear. It was his own heart, because deep inside, part of him had stopped trying to push her away. Part of him had grown used to her presence, her watchful eyes, her warmth at night. And that part whispered something dangerous. What if she was right? What if he already belonged to her? The squad reached an abandoned alien village by nightfall. Broken huts leaned under the weight of dust, and wind howled through cracked stone walls. The soldiers set camp in the ruins, but no one came near David. He sat by himself, his alien shadow still beside him. She hadn't left him once, but something was different tonight. She wasn't just watching. She was restless, her eyes darting to the ruins, her ears twitching at every sound. She was waiting for something. When the others slept, an old figure stepped from the shadows of a collapsed house. An alien elder. His body was bent, his skin gray with age, his eyes glowing faint gold instead of blue. The squad stirred, raising weapons, but the elder raised a thin hand. "I do not come for war," he said in broken human tongue. His gaze slid to David's arm. The mark burned brighter under the moonlight, crawling further across his chest. The elder's eyes narrowed. "So, she has bitten you." The alien girl stood, her body tense. She hissed at him like a wild animal, but the elder only gave her a tired smile. David rose to his feet. "What does it mean?" "Tell me." The elder's voice was low, heavy. "Long ago, before the wars, our kind had a law. A female who feared to lose her chosen would bite. The bite was no wound. It was a bond, a chain. It tied the male's life to hers. His strength fed her. Her life guarded his. They became one." David's heart pounded. "One?" The elder nodded. "If you die, she dies. If she dies, you will carry the burn until your last breath." The soldiers muttered behind him. Some cursed, some spat. One shouted, "He's cursed. He's not human anymore." The girl stepped closer to David, her body in front of his, as if she would kill anyone who touched him. The firelight gleamed on her fangs. David clenched his fists. "Then how do I break it?" The elder's eyes went dark. "Break it? Foolish human. There is no breaking. The bond is older than war, older than blood. To fight, it is to destroy yourself. To accept it is to live. But never free. David felt his chest tighten. Never free. The words dug deep. The elder turned and began to walk away, his thin frame swallowed by the ruins. But before disappearing into the dark, he looked back once more. His voice carried on the wind. She has marked you. The world will fear you. The clans will hunt you. You are hers now, hers. Until the end. The night swallowed his words, leaving only silence. David stood frozen, his arm burning hotter than fire. The girl's hand slid around his wrist, firm and unshakable. Her eyes glowed like embers. And though no one spoke it aloud, every soldier there felt the same truth settle in the air. He was no longer one of them. The camp did not rest easy after the elder's warning. Soldiers whispered through the night, some sharpening blades, some keeping their distance from David. He felt their eyes, full of suspicion and fear. They no longer saw him as their brother in arms. He was something else now. Something dangerous. The alien girl stayed close, never sleeping. Her head turned at every sound, her glowing eyes scanning the shadows. She moved like a predator, and for the first time, David wondered if she was protecting him or guarding her claim. When dawn broke, the truth came. Shapes moved along the ridges above the ruined village. Dozens of them. Rival aliens. Their armor was bone, their weapons black as night. Their eyes burned bright red, and every one of them stared down at David. They didn't look at the squad. They didn't look at the camp. Only him. The captain barked orders. Soldiers scrambled to form a line, rifles raised. But the rival aliens didn't rush. They descended slow, confident, like hunters surrounding a single prey. One of them stepped forward, a tall warrior with jagged teeth. He pointed his blade at David and snarled in a language the others couldn't understand. But David didn't need translation. The way they looked at him said enough. The girl stepped in front of him, her body tense, her growl low and deep. What do they want? David whispered. Her answer was one word, hissed between sharp teeth. You! The rival aliens roared and charged. The squad opened fire. The ruins exploded with gunfire, dust, and screams. But the warriors ignored the others. They pushed through the bullets, their weapons swinging toward David. One leapt at him, blade high only for the girl to slam into the warrior with bone-cracking force. Her strength was not human. She tore into them with a feral rage, moving faster than bullets. Blood splashed across the broken stones. David fought too, firing his rifle, blocking strikes, but something strange happened. Every time he bled, she bled. Every time she took a hit, his arm burned as if the blade had cut him too. The bond was real. Their lives were tied. The squad saw it. He's linked to her. One shouted. He bleeds when she bleeds. But there was no time to question. The fight was chaos. Rival aliens fell, but more came. David's chest burned hotter with every moment, the mark glowing like fire under his skin. Then the tall warrior stepped forward again. His blade slashed, knocking David to the ground. He raised his weapon for the killing strike. The alien girl threw herself in front of him, her arms outstretched, her scream echoing through the ruins. Her teeth bared, her voice full of fury. Mine! She roared. The rival warriors froze for a breath. That word, that claim, seemed to strike them harder than any blade. Their red eyes flickered with something fear or respect. Then they pulled back, growling, but not striking again. Slowly, like shadows melting into mist, the rivals retreated into the hills, leaving behind the bodies of their dead. The squad lowered their rifles, panting, stunned. David rose shakily, his mark glowing like fire across his chest. The girl still stood in front of him, blood dripping down her arms, her body trembling but unbroken. No one spoke. But in the silence, one truth became clear. The enemies had not come for war. They had come for him, and because of her bite, because of her claim, he was now marked by more than fear. He was marked as a prize. The ruins were quiet again, but not with peace, only with fear. The squad buried the bodies of the fallen, both human and alien. No one spoke to David. No one dared look him in the eye. To them, he was not just marked now, he was cursed, chosen for something they didn't understand. That night, David sat alone at the edge of camp, his rifle across his knees. The alien girl was there, as always, sitting close enough that her shoulder almost touched his. The firelight made her eyes glow brighter, but this time she wasn't snarling or guarding. She looked softer, almost human. He could not take it anymore. His voice broke the silence. "Why me? Out of everyone, why did you bite me?" For the first time, she did not answer with a single word. She tilted her head, her hair falling across her face. Her sharp teeth flashed in the firelight, but her voice came low, almost trembling. "You were alone," she whispered. David frowned. "Alone? I had my squad." She shook her head slowly. "Not alone in body. Alone in heart. I saw it." The others laughed, talked, shared. "But you sat in silence. You carried weight inside. Heavy weight." Her words struck harder than any blade. He wanted to deny it, but he remembered all the nights he sat apart, keeping his thoughts to himself. The war had eaten pieces of him long before her bite, her eyes fixed on him, fierce but full of something he had never expected: pain. "My kind, we fear losing. We fear being taken. So when we see one we wish to keep, we bite. We bind. We make sure they cannot be stolen." Her hand reached for his arm, her fingers tracing the glowing mark. The heat flared again, burning but not painful. This time it felt like a heartbeat, alive between them. David's breath caught. "So you didn't bite me to curse me. You bit me to keep me?" She nodded once. "To keep. To never lose, mine." Her voice was not a growl now. It was a plea. A confession. The silence between them grew heavy. The fire popped, sparks rising into the night sky. Around them, the squad pretended to sleep, but David knew they were listening. He wanted to be angry. To call her selfish. To tell her he never asked for this bond. But the words caught in his throat when he saw her expression. Beneath the sharp teeth, the glowing eyes, the alien features, there was fear. A fear not of him, but of losing him. And for the first time since the bite, David realized something dangerous. That part of him didn't want her to let go. He looked away, staring into the flames. "You've made me a prisoner," he said quietly. Her voice was softer still. "Not prisoner. Partner." The word lingered in the air. A word he could not ignore. As the night stretched on, David lay awake, her head resting lightly against his shoulder. His heart pounded with questions, with doubts, with a fear he could not name. But above all, one truth haunted him. The bond was no longer just her claim. It was becoming his choice too. The final night came with smoke on the horizon. The squad was restless, weapons loaded, eyes scanning the darkness. They knew the rival clan would return. They always returned. David sat apart, the alien girl at his side as always. Her hand rested on his arm where the glowing mark pulsed like a living flame. The bond was stronger now, crawling across his chest like a chain made of light. He could feel her heartbeat inside his own. When the attack came, it was not quiet. The ground shook under the march of dozens, maybe hundreds. Red-eyed warriors swarmed the ruins, their war cries echoing through the night. The squad fought with everything they had, bullets tearing the dark, grenades lighting the air. But the enemy did not care about the humans. They only cared about David. They came for him. He fired until his rifle clicked empty, then swung it like a club. The girl fought beside him, a storm of claws and fangs, her rage terrible to watch. Every strike she took made his mark burn hotter, the pain almost tearing him apart. At the heart of the battle, the tall rival warrior returned. His blade gleamed with blood. He pointed at David and roared a single word in his language. David didn't understand the word, but the meaning was clear: surrender. The alien girl stood in front of him, her body shaking, her chest heaving with exhaustion. She spread her arms wide, her voice breaking through the chaos. Mine! The warriors slowed, their eyes flashing, their blades trembling. They knew the claim. They knew the bond. But still, they pressed forward. David's vision blurred with smoke and blood. The mark on his chest burned brighter than fire, like it was demanding something of him. Demanding a choice. He looked at her, this alien girl who had bitten him, chained him, made him an outcast. She had stolen his freedom, and yet she had also fought for him, bled for him, stood by him when no one else would. The world narrowed. He had only two paths left: reject her, tear himself free from the bond, even if it killed them both. Or accept her, embrace the mark, claim her as his, and live bound forever. The battle roared around them, soldiers falling, enemies closing in. David's breath came heavy, his hand shaking as he touched the mark on his chest. He looked into her eyes. They were glowing, but not with hunger now. With fear. With hope. His voice cut through the fire and screams. I choose. The night swallowed the rest of his words. The scene froze with the blaze of the burning ruins, the echo of battle, the mark burning brighter than the stars above. And no one, not the squad, not the enemy, not even the girl, would ever forget what he chose.